What's going on, YouTube? Today I have a banger of a story for you today, so sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's begin. I understand that my page has a lot of drama around it. If you guys are coming to this video expecting to find more drama, just click away now. I have nothing bad to say. This is about someone who has never been featured on my page before. This is a story that happened completely in the background off of social media, and I'm only now sitting down to tell this story without any level of proof that this even happened. I didn't film anything from this story. The only thing I can rely on to tell this story is my own mind. And the problem with that is this story has taken place months ago. And as time goes on, the human mind is a very fragile thing. And as you begin to forget things and forget memories, your brain begins to fill in the gaps to try to figure out what exactly happened. And so before I completely lose this story to time, I want to sit down and try to jot down as many details from this story as I possibly can. This story does not have a happy ending, but I would not change a single thing about it. This story begins winter of 2022 to 2023. I met this girl off of a dating app, and I immediately hit it off with this girl. Talking with her was like nobody I had ever met before. I truly felt like I had met someone special in that moment. But without going into any further details about that situationship or relationship that summer, that doesn't really matter. Situationship or relationship, whatever you want to call it, was very on and off and very dramatic at times. I like to think talking with this person was like talking with a reflection of myself. That's because that's what it really truly felt like. Problem is, we both had our own problems and we could just never quite get it right. So eventually, towards the end of 2023, towards the beginning of fall, we cut things off and we didn't talk for months. I ended up dating a completely different girl, which was stable, and that was nice. But as you will see in this story, I tend to have a habit of ruining things. Regardless, I ended up being single going into summer of 2024. During late spring or early summer of 2024, I decided to take a trip to California to see my friend CJ. CJ has a house over in San Diego, and he offered to let me come stay with him for, I think it was 11 days. Almost 2 weeks. Now, before I had left on this trip, the weather was looking a little down, and I was hanging out with a lot of my friends out in Ohio off the bikes. I love my friends in Ohio. They're some of the best friends I could ever ask for. They would never, ever steer me wrong, so I'm not blaming them for this in this story. But a lot of my friends decided, hey, we wanted to go out drinking. This is not something I normally do. I don't really like alcohol. I don't like myself on alcohol. I think it's a very toxic drug. I do not agree with the idea of going drinking all the time. But in this instance, I decided since I was single, I was going to go out drinking and have some fun with my friends. That night, what happened, I don't regret at all. We had an awesome time, me and my friends, we went out. It was a wonderful time. Towards the end of the night, I made a very stupid decision and I decided to text that one ex. And it's not the fact that I decided to text her is what I regret. It's what I texted her is what I regret. Now, like I've said on my page before, I don't like showing private messages between two people. I think that that's kind of a scummy move. And so you're just going to have to take my word for what I said. But I texted her WYD, what are you doing? At 2 a.m. on a Saturday night. Such a stupid, dumb decision. And I still can't believe to this day that I did that. I don't know why, even in a drunk mind, why I would text someone I still cared about. What are you doing at 2 a.m.? It was a dumb move. I'm ashamed of it and it'll never happen again. I woke up the next morning to absolutely zero text messages and I was so embarrassed I just decided to leave it at that. I did not want to follow it up with an apology or anything. I was just hoping that maybe she blocked me and didn't see it. Boy, was I wrong. I think around 2 weeks later, I left on my trip to California. Could have been longer than that, could have been shorter than that. I don't quite remember the entirety of the details, but a little bit later, I left for California. While staying in California, I was having a wonderful time filming content with the guys down there, riding around, exploring a new place that I never got to ride in. The guys down there were showing me cool spots when all of a sudden, out of the blue, I remember I was sitting on CJ's couch in his living room when I got a text message from that girl. Now again, if you remember, the last thing that I sent to this girl was, what are you doing at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night? The text that she sent me was not pleasant. Rightfully so. She sent me a full paragraph bitching me out about the person that I am and the things that I do. There was a lot of truth to it, I'm not gonna lie. And I told her that. I told her she was valid for a lot of the things. And we went back and forth for a little bit, talking, till eventually that evolved into flirting. Here I was in California, almost the entire country away from this girl, and I wanted nothing more than to see her. And so that night, while I was texting her, I decided I couldn't wait. And while we were doing this backwards flirting back and forth, I still remember texting her to this day. I texted her, you know how easy it would be to fly you out here right now? That is verbatim. That is what I said. Again, not the nicest Prince Charming thing ever in the world to say, but she decided to call me on my bluff, and she said I wouldn't do it. And so the next day when we woke up, me and my friend decided to go get some chicken. And while we were eating lunch, I was talking to my friend about this, talking to him about this idea about flying my ex from Ohio all the way to California for a few days. He was totally down for it. And so I asked CJ if it was okay with him, and he gave me the okay. And so I told her, hey, it's all cool. You're welcome to come as long as you're cool with staying in the same room as me. And to my surprise, again, she said yes. And so 10 minutes later, I bought her plane tickets from Ohio to California. I decided to fly her in only the last 3 days of the trip. I made sure to order the plane tickets. I made sure she got the same returning flight as me so she wouldn't have to go home alone. I don't remember how much it was, but I know for a fact that it was priceless. I remember I bought flight protection on her flight because I wasn't entirely sure that she was actually going to show up. Like I said, my impression of this girl is I thought that she hated me. I was pretty 98.5% positive that this girl hated me. So I put on that little flight protection. I'm like, yeah, she's probably gonna back out. So I went back to enjoying my trip, texting her here and there whenever I could, just riding around, getting content with my friend. When that day finally showed up, she texted me that she was leaving, getting on the plane. Still wasn't sure that she was actually going to come. So you can imagine my surprise a few days later when she actually showed up at the front door. This girl who had just texted me, bitching me completely out a few days prior, suddenly showed up in California, thousands of miles away, at a total stranger's door to stay with me. And I tell you, man, when I saw her standing there, I froze. And it felt like a total fever dream that she was even standing there. I quickly let her in and helped her unpack her stuff. And we laid down for a bit, watching some Mr. Beast videos, catching up on all the months that we had missed. She showed me her new tattoos, telling me about things that happened, and I told her about things that happened on my end. That first night, we just ended up being chill, hanging out. And the next day, I took her for a ride on CJ's motorcycle, the tiny little 300, puttering around. I was showing her all the cool spots that the guys were showing me the previous days prior. All of the cool spots around San Diego. Going riding with High Speed Hayden and his girlfriend. While he's popping wheelies on his S1000, I'm barely trying to keep up on this little 300. The saddest part about this is I always ride with a camera on me. I do not go riding unless I have a camera on me, at least on me. I will go for rides on occasion by myself without any filming or cameras. But I always make sure I at least have a fully charged camera on me in case I get pulled over or something happens. But the one thing I still cannot believe to this day is that I didn't turn my cameras on the entire time that this girl was staying with me. The entire time that this girl was staying with me in California, I did not turn on my cameras once. I have absolutely zero footage or proof that this even happened. So the background footage that you're seeing right now is just random stuff from the trip. She's not in any of it. And to be honest, even if I did have footage, I don't think I would post it. The entirety of me knowing this girl was relatively private. The only reason I'm sharing this story now is because of how much it meant to me. And again, this is my page. So that's why I feel the need to share that now. Towards the end of the trip, things began to slow down. Me and this girl were still catching up, talking about old times and talking about potential future ones. And eventually the trip came to a close. High Speed Hayden took us in his truck to the airport where he dropped us off. Somehow the airport managed to get us plane tickets next to each other. So the entire 7-8 hour flight home, we were sat right next to each other. And when we got to the airport, her ride didn't show up at first. So I sat around waiting for her ride to show up. And that's when my dad, who was picking me up from the airport, saw who I was hanging out with. My dad knew who she was. And that was a very fun thing to explain. My dad had no idea that I flew my ex out to California, and it was a very entertaining conversation on the way home. After a few more weeks of talking about things and seeing if this would actually work, we decided to get back together, all because of a little trip out to California. Me and my ex got back together. Like I said in the beginning of this video, this story does not have a happy ending. I wish I could say that this story had a happy ending. That, I quit making content, moved on, got a job with my life, still together, moving on, doing better things in life, how that fairy tale stuff usually goes. But this life ain't a fairy tale. We had a couple fights during the duration of this relationship, and finally the last one to me was the one that broke my back. I understand I can't feel the same emotions that I was feeling back then of what made me decide to end it like that. That's kind of the irony of a breakup. Breakup in the moment because of something that you were feeling in that moment. But over time, you kind of forget what made you feel that way. And I think that's kind of what happened the first time that we broke things off. It felt like a lot of the same things were resurfacing during that time that we were spending time together again. A lot of old problems resurfacing, which is why I think a lot of people say it's a bad idea to get together with your ex. Because when you're broken up with someone, you create this idealistic persona of a person of the good times. And when you get back together, you are suddenly reminded of the bad times again, things that hurt. So I don't regret any of the things that actually happened or transpired. In fact, I think this was a beautiful time of my life. And it's just a crazy reminder of all the things that bikes have done for me, the opportunities it's provided and the places it's taken me and the people I've met because of it. It's all because of bikes. Would I do all of this again? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I would do this again. In a heartbeat, I would do everything again. Do I think the outcome would have changed? No, I don't think there's any other way that this could have gone. It was destined to end the same way. But I don't think I'll ever be able to get that image of her standing in front of the house waiting to be let inside ever out of my head. That was everything to me in that moment. That was the whole world. So that's why I wanted to share this story finally with you guys. Things are not beautiful because they last, and this was an incredibly short relationship. But again, I would do it again every time in a heartbeat. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. A little lore drop, if you will, of little things happening in the background. If you guys actually remember, there is a little bit more lore to this. While I was in Texas staying with Jixerbra, there was a moment from a clip a long time ago where Jixerbra was trying to get me to talk to some cowgirls at some Texas bars. There were some girls coming out and he wanted me to go talk to them. And in the video, you can see me go like, oh, I'm taken here. I'm a little bit taken here. That was a reference to the girl that you guys never got to see. Not too many people picked up on it, but there were a couple of comments of people being like, wait, who's he talking about? What is this girl that he's talking about now? And yeah, that's what that was. So finally get to explain that. Sorry, I kind of got a little bit dramatic during this as well, but that's just who I am. What would these videos be without a little bit of drama, right? Without a little bit of that spice, a little bit of that that TV show type drama. But truly, that's really how much this meant to me. It's a story I hope I never forget, but obviously with time you forget things. You know, I still have all of the texts and everything, and so I know that the story actually happened, but for you guys, I guess you'll never know. You'll just have to take my word for it. And with that, I'm gonna end today's video here. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.